I'm going to start my SketchUp file. I have all of my measurements noted, and so I can start to draw out the pieces. I'm going to go up to Create New, go to Simple Template Feet and Inches. This may take a minute to open up. SketchUp is a browser-based program, so sometimes, depending on your internet speeds, it may take a while to open up. This is our main area to work in. The first thing you're going to do is change the title. So we're going to change this to Furniture Design. The name of what your project is, if it's a drafting table, mine is a drafting table. Yours might be a chair, and then you're going to put your name. Again, it might take a little bit of time to save it. It will ask you which folder you want to put it in. You made a folder already, and I'm going to save mine in SketchUp for Schools, and that's on the Google Drive. You'll see here that it says saving and then switches to grayed out saved once it's saved. Now I'm going to start to lay out my pieces. I'm going to be working in the 3D environment, but I'm going to be orbiting to a view that I can kind of see on top of where I'm working. So I'm going to orbit a little bit so that I can see down. Now I'm going to use my pencil tool, and I'm going to start to draw the legs of my table. The legs of my table are 34 inches by 5. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag along the red axis. So I'm clicking and letting go of the button. I'm going to type in 34 inches. And now I'm going to go along the green axis, and I'm going to type in 5 inches. And I'm going to go along the red axis again and type in 34 inches. And you'll notice when I start to go across here, it'll tell me down here that it's 5 inches. So if I go in and I go to the end point here and I click, now it's filled in as a object. Now I need to mark where I put my notches. So I'm going to do that by using the measurement tool. This is the guideline tool. So you're going to want to use this one. And when you use the guideline tool, you're going to zoom in. You'll see a cyan dot, that is the midpoint. But when you pull a guideline, you're going to want the red dot. So I'm going to click this, and I'm going to drag this up to where my first measurement is for my notch, which is 13 inches. Then I'm going to do the same thing up here, and I'm going to drag that down, and my first notch is at 2 inches. Now I have to account for the thickness of the material. So I'm going to click again, and I'm going to type in 3/4 of an inch, and that's 3/4, or I'll show you in this example. I'm going to slide it down, and I'm going to type in 0.75 inches. And it basically gives me the same. So you can see, you could double check, and that's 34 inches. Now I have to figure out how deep this is, and this is going to be 2 inches. So I'm going to pull and drag away 2 inches, and on this side it's the same, 2 inches. Now I'm going to use the pencil tool, and I'm going to draw in those lines. Click click again, and you'll see that this snaps to the edges. Now I'm going to use my eraser tool, and I'm going to erase this middle line. And then I'm going to use the pan tool, and I'm going to do the same thing up here. Click, click, click. Erase that. All right, so I have my notches here, and now I can erase all of these guidelines. Now I'm going to make a copy of this. So I'm going to triple click it. If I click once, I get the inside. If I click twice, I get the outside. And if I click 3 times, I get the whole thing. Now I'm going to use the move tool, and I'm going to grab the corner, and I'm going to use the option key, and that will pull a copy of my design. I'm going to do that again. I have to move away a little bit. Option, away, do the same, let go, click again on the corner, hold the option key, and then pull that away. All right, so now I have my legs drawn, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to draw the other parts that I need. The next part I need is 5 inches by 32. So I'm going to do it like this. Go up 5 inches. Go across. Make sure it's snapping on that green line. 32. Go down to the 5 along that red. And then I'm going to go across, and you can see it links up perfectly that way. Okay, now I have an even longer piece, and I'm going to need to put in the notches for this too. In this case, the notches are on both sides, so I'm going to go in and use my guideline tool. I'm going to pull, this is 2 inches, and I'm going to pull that at 6 inches. And I'm going to pull the other one at 2 inches. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did before, which was pull the length of the thickness of the material. Come in here, and I'm going to make my notches. You always want to go from point to point, and this is why it's very helpful to have the guidelines. So now I'm going to erase my guidelines. And I'm going to triple click, and I'm going to pull a copy. click away to deselect it. And then I have another rectangle. I want this to be on green. This is going to be 53 inches. And then it's going to be 5 inches. And I can use inferencing here too, and you can see that I'm going to keep it here, and I'm going to do 53 inches again, and then we can close that. I'm going to pull my guidelines. If you need to check something, you can always check it. Hit escape to get out. And let's do Now I'm going to draw the table. This is 32 inches by, remember I want to keep it on the green, by 48. I want to keep this on the red, 32. And now this should snap on the green. Now I'm going to use my guidelines and I'm going to make the edges of my table. This is going to be 5 inches and 5 inches on this side. And I have 2 notches that go in 2 inches. Enter. Another one that goes in 2 inches. Okay. And now I have to find the midpoint, and so this is actually really helpful. If I go from the edge and I mouse over to this part right here, where it turns cyan, that is the midpoint. So I'm just going to drop myself a guideline right there. And I have this middle part. Whoop. So I have another little guide from For simplicity's sake, I'm not going to put that curve in there for right now. And now I'm going to put my notches in. So I need one more. I'm going to do the notches first so that I know it starts to get kind of confusing when you have a lot of lines, and so if you want to do this differently, you totally can. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my space first. So I'm going to make my notches so I can eliminate those lines. Oops, I have to do right here. I have to do 6 inches or 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to draw my line here to here. I think I'm going to do it to here. Hit escape. And I'm going to do it to here. Escape. And then escape. I just need to know where I am. Now I'm going to pull a little guideline here. Now I can actually make my guidelines. So I'm going to make my notches now. I'm going to erase that. So now I can kind of erase those little notch lines. At least they're not in the way anymore. And then I can kind of concentrate on my other lines. All right, now I'm actually going to bring this in 3/4 of an inch. So originally I had a curve, but I'm going to make it a little simpler this time. What I might do, maybe put, I don't know, let's make this more complicated than it needs to be. All right. Now I could put a little curve, I think, which I might do. Put a little curve here. And we didn't really go over this tool, but I'm going to use it. So you can also check to see what you've cut by seeing, by clicking on it. Okay, so I have all of my pieces here laid out. The next thing that we have to do is we have to pull them up 3/4 of an inch. And to do that is actually very simple. All we have to do is use the push-pull tool here, and we're going to select the pieces, and we're going to use the push-pull tool. Click in the middle of it. You can pull it up and then type in 3/4 of an inch. And all you have to do now is just double click the other pieces, and SketchUp remembers what you did. Now remember, what you want to do is you want to click in that center part, and as long as it's all together, it will raise it all up the same amount. So that's a nice little shortcut. The next thing that we have to do at this point is we need to group all of these individual pieces. To do that, you're going to triple click, 1, 2, 3, right click, and say make group. Click away, triple click, 1, 2, 3. If you don't have a right button mouse, you can click the control key and say make group. We're going to do that over here. Again, control key, click, make group. Triple click again, control key, make group. Now notice I'm doing these individually. It's very important that you do them individually and do not group them together. Remember, you're going to triple click, make group, and the very last one, make group. When you do this, SketchUp will kind of put a box around it. For what we're doing right now, it's not so important to edit the group, but I will be editing the group later in this particular one. Now I'm going to click away, and now I'm going to put this together. To do this, I need to use the rotation tool, which is underneath the move tool. It's this tool here. Now I know that all of these have to be vertical. So I am going to select them all. I'm just going to draw a box around them. Let's try it this way. And I'm going to click the Shift key and add this one to it. Okay, now I'm going to orbit to a place where I can kind of see what I'm doing. And bring them down. Now I'm going to use the rotation tool. The rotation tool will snap to the different surfaces. So you want it to snap onto the green axis. What I suggest that you do is you zoom in. You can also use the left arrow key. You're going to click, drag away, click again, and then turn these and type in 90 degrees. You just can type 90 and then enter. And now they are all together. Click away. And I'm also going to raise this table up. We know that this dimension here is, let's just double check it. I'm going to get in here and I'm going to measure this. So that's 2 feet 7 1/4 inches. So I'm going to actually move table into this section. Now I'm going to use something called X-ray mode in order to be able to see through my objects. So I'm going to go over to here and I'm going to look at, click Solid Inspector. Things are a little bit different in this version. What we're going to do is we're going to select X-ray mode. It might take a minute to turn on. And now you can see that you can actually see through individual parts of your model. So what we're going to do here is we're going to move the corner. Now when you move things like this, you're going to want to grab the corner. Oopsie. Let's see. I think that happened because we had it selected. I can do it this way. Now I'm going to rotate this particular one. I'm going to keep it on the blue axis and I'm going to click, drag away, and this one I'm going to turn 180 degrees because I need it. You can see there that it snaps, and in the right corner it says 180 degrees. I'm going to deselect it and now I'm going to select the other one. Oops. So we have to go back down here. I'm also going to rotate this one so you can see it. I'm going to triple click or double, actually only single click, and I'm going to rotate this. Again, I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the other one. Click, drag away, keeping it on the red axis. And now I want to keep it at 180. And then I'm going to deselect. All right, so now I'm going to zoom away from here. I'm going to move these guys. I'm going to select one, hold the shift key, and I'm going to use that move tool, and let's just move these guys over. sure there we go. All right, and now we're going to put these into place. So I'm going to deselect them, and I'm going to go to the inspector, and I'm going to say Run Inspector. Turn on X-ray mode. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other ones. And I'm going to get that lined up in there. That actually looks pretty good. Deselect. And then here, I'm going to do the same thing. Line that up. Okay. So now, while I'm in this same mode, I am going to work on these guys. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move it. I think that's wrong. I think, uh-oh, I got a little problem here. I measured wrong. Oh no, I think I did this correctly. think I did this backwards. I did it backwards. Uh-oh. Oh boy, did I make a mistake. Okay, well, we're gonna fix it. Yeah. All right. If you get into trouble like this, you can always use this key, which, sorry, not this one, which will sort of reorient you back into where you need to be. All right. This one has to flip too. And so we're going to select this, click. So here you can kind of see that I have miscalculated my measurements, but that is okay. What we're going to do is we are just going to fix this up. It looks like I miscalculated. I think I just maybe need to slide it over. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. That sort of works, but it's not really. Let's see. Is that locked up properly? It seems as though I have miscalculated. So we can fix this. I'm just double checking here. Really, this notch is supposed to fit around this one. So I'm not really sure what happened here, but the good news is we can always fix it. So to do that, I'm going to turn the, I'm going to make sure that this piece is actually locked in where I want it to be. And it looks as though it is. I don't see any gaps. I think the only thing that's a little strange is right here. I have to go into edit mode. And I want to push and pull this back section back. Yep, to here. Okay, and I think that's the only one that I have to change. Otherwise, on this one, things look good on this one, but somehow over here, I want to push and pull this to here, and on the inside, I want to push and pull that to this. Okay, now I'm going to click away to close it, and it even looks like this might be a little big, but that's okay. That can be a little bit bigger. All right, I'm going to stop the inspection. So if I wanted this to line up with this, I'm going to click this, triple click in order to get into the edit mode. And now I'm going to pull this so that it is flush with that. And then to get out of edit mode, you're just going to click outside of the edit mode. Okay, so here we have our drafting table. I did forget to do a part, but I do want to show you how I can move this down. So remember that this part came down. So I'm going to triple click into here. I'm going to select both of these lines. Then I'm going to use the move tool. And I'm going to pull these down. Let's say I pull it down maybe 4 inches. Let's see what that looks like. And that might be kind of good. So now I'm going to click that and click away. And now you can see that I have that drafting table feature. Now, the only thing I'm still missing is this part that goes across. So I forgot to make that. And I'll do that in the next version. But here you have your drafting table.